Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Alexander. I'm the President and Managing Director of MedCura Executive and Professional Search. And we're honored this afternoon to have Larry Tiffany, the CEO of MedCura, whose organization focuses on bleeding management and wound healing. And so Larry's had some experiences with our firm that he's going to be sharing with us today. And Larry, I want to thank you again for being on the video call with us today.
No problem, Don.
So just to get things teed off, I was hoping you might give the viewing audience just kind of an overview of our relationship, how we got to know each other, and then kind of how that developed with respect to MedCura.
Sure. So Don and I have known each other now for way too many years to mention, but Don was instrumental when I was at a publicly traded company. Don helped me recruit a vast majority of a sales and business development team. And that's really how we started our relationship. And then as I moved from larger publicly traded companies down to running smaller private companies, have maintained my relationship with Don, and Don has helped me across a number of different aspects. And so looking at both everything from business development to operating positions, and indeed really almost as a broader life sciences personnel partner.
That's great, Larry. Thank you for that. If you could also share any, concerns or hesitations that you may have with, search firms in particular, us, as you think about engaging a search firm, what maybe concerns do you have?
Yeah. So now that I live the life of in the kind of earlier stage private world, as compared to when I was in the public world, we had an HR department, we had bigger budgets, we had a much more robust infrastructure. And so when you now start to bring on somebody, it's far more important, at least to me, that you know the people that you're working with, like we do at MedCura. Obviously the expense of bringing on talent is something we have to consider. And you've been very, very flexible in how you've worked with us along those lines. And then it really does come down to somebody that at least I think, and you can trust to carry the message out to prospective potential new employees or team members. And that's so important because not, in any search, you're only going to interact with a certain number of people and you're going to only probably choose one. You want to have that same positive experience for everybody as much as you can. And so it's really important that you're just an extension of us in many respects, Don. You're our all-in-one kind of HR department.
Well, we appreciate that, Larry, and sort of what I hear you saying here is just how important kind of being the voice of the customer really can be in search. So thanks for that. Are there any other experiences that you'd like to share, in terms of the benefits that you've seen in working with us, or other benefits that may have stemmed from the relationship?
And this is maybe a slightly unfair comparison because I'm going to go back many years before you and I started working together to some of the more recent work we've done together. In working with some very large, very, very capable national, even multinational or international search firms, you're, and especially now where I am, you're a very small fish in a very, very, very big pond. And so when you're there, there's two parts of it. One is, as the recruiter, as you go back to that messaging we just talked about, your incentives to potentially bring a board member to Bristol-Smith-Kline, to GlaxoSmithKline is a little bit different than bringing a vice president of operations to MedCura. And so what we've seen with MedCura is I don't notice that. I don't notice that I'm really any different than any of your other clients. And that, two things. One, that level of transparency is important to me. And then secondarily, that level of engagement and service is really important to me. And your willingness and MedCura's willingness to to really kind of dig into not just what we want from the kind of the X's and O's perspective of looking at the CV and seeing what's there, but to really try to understand what we're trying to accomplish strategically as a culture fit, and the time you've taken to get to know me personally, to get to know some of my team. That really matters because, in a, again, not picking on GlaxoSmithKline, but in a really, really big company, those decisions of bringing people in, you can always maybe work around them. Maybe you can find a lateral move for them. In a company like mine, a mistake is much harder to kind of pivot from. So that personal service, that personal touch is really, really important to us.
Absolutely, Larry. Thanks for that. Finally, is there any additional advice or thoughts, if you will, that you might have for, other prospective clients of GeneCoda's that may be evaluating us?
Yeah, I'd say it's what you've taught me, Don, which is do your own homework too. I mean, think about not just who you want and what you want them to do. Think about where you want them to come from. Everything from companies to positions to experiences, who they are, where they are in their professional career. I think that makes the interaction and engagement with you much more robust. It provides you with a more educated clientele. And at least in the things that we've done over the last 10 years, that tends to result in a better outcome for all of us. And look at you and I have brought people on that have been huge successes. We brought some people on to companies of mine who have stayed for a little while and moved on. So there's no guarantees in this. And you're just trying to improve your batting average, so to speak. And you're trying to bring, especially in these small companies, these people are agents of change. And the kind of people you bring onto your senior team, you want them to start to remold the company a little bit with their ideas. And Don, you've been really helpful in making us kind of grind through that and think through that as we start the process. Because again, having done this before with some other larger firms, you kind of give them a CV, you kind of give them a job description, you have a quick call, this is what you want. Maybe they take down a couple names of competitors, then they go to work, and nothing wrong with that. They've got, a lot of, maybe they've got a really, really broad reach. But what I find the most helpful in working with GeneCoda is your ability to help to synthesize and force, the client to kind of go through a little bit more reflective process prior to just, oh, I want a vice president of biz dev. Here's what I want. 22 years experience, here's where they are. I think that more enlightened approach leads to better results. And so again, a lot of that you've kind of taught us and me over the last 10 or 15 years we've known each other. And so I'd suggest to all your clients of, it's worth you spending, used to be a little bit of plane time, right? That's what you do. You sit on a plane, you think about it a little bit, you kind of take some notes down about what am I thinking about so I can share these with Don. That process, Don, I find to be as useful as Larry, you need to cough up your written, job description for me to go out and find people. So that if that's a little bit of advice to others, I hope it's helpful.